Ann Burbine, Chairman at this moment in time of the Economic Development Commission. I know a lot of you here. I'm also Chairman now of the Planning Board. And I'm a big proponent of communication. And the more information that we can impart to you people, the more questions that you have that we can somehow, if not tonight, address, then everybody's going to be, hopefully, not always happy, but close. So, we'll work hard at this, and no question is stupid. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you think that they're whatever. It's that question that wasn't asked. We need to. Thank you, John. So, Greenbush is undergoing a tremendous change. Some of it is happening here in this particular area. A lot of it is happening on the Driftway. A lot of it. And it's just one of those things that we want to, especially with the planning board, keep an eye on to make sure that it fits our vision, that it looks like a village, that it remains a village. I understand from talking to people that there's an issue with traffic here, with children and bicycles and all kinds of things. And those are things that don't necessarily fall into the purview of economic development or planning board, but it's public safety. And we have to address that as well. So I have no clue where our presentation is. I have no idea. He's supposedly...
He's probably in the town hall.
Probably.
Waiting for us.
Yeah, waiting for us. So, at any rate, we have lots of people here. I'm going to send around a sheet, and I would love to have you all sign in, please, so that we, with an address or an email, so that we can get in touch with you. We had this meeting, our meeting similar to this, several months ago that was well attended, and I said at the time that we could do it again. So here we are. So we'll start right here and just all around. I have to tell you, I'm somewhat embarrassed. And you can only do so much, right?
Is someone should be called? Is there anyone?
He's been called,
Yeah, okay.
and he supposedly he was on his way.
All right, well. We only had some beer or something.
If you want to go over there,
I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, and the first round's on you?
Yes. If you want to have a beer, have a beer. That'll get really lively.
Stay seated.
Everyone just stay seated.
Alright, okay, let me just start with what I know is going to how I play.
Thanks. Excuse me.
Alright. On the Driftway, Cumberland Farms, where Social Auto Parts currently exists, wants to put in a gas station and a convenience store. So the planning board will be working with them. It is my understanding that it is not in the floodplain. So the other issue to keep in mind is we do in fact need another gas station if you come right down to it. But that said, they wanted to put the gas pumps right out front, all this pavement. I mean, who needs it? It looks like a strip mall. So I've suggested to them that they turn it sideways and that the pumps go to the side, you go in, get your gas, do whatever, go around and out. So that's one thing that's happening. Another thing I heard from a local attorney that there's some plans that are coming forward down near the dance studio and the ice place. Somebody owns a slip of land, Sullivan's. Does anybody ever heard of Sullivan's? Berwick owns another piece of property too. So that's a neat option, as well as the Drew Company is coming forward with big development on the upper parking lot of the Greenbush station. We have an issue with water, we have an issue with sewer, and we all know that. So we are in the process of looking into what can be done and what can't be done, because there are places in this town that have been waiting for sewer since the beginning of recorded time. And North Scituate is one of those places. And that, North Scituate, you can believe this, Hingham Institute, their branch, they're leaving and closing as the 15th of September. There will be no bank in North Scituate. However, Janie's is coming back for a hearing, and hopefully they will be open. Granted, it has nothing to do with Greenbush, but it's just one more watering hole that we really need. So, that said, we have what's going on next door. We have 50 Country Way that's in the process. We have 14 to 16 Union Street that will come before the planning board. Old Country Way. So we're going to be very careful with what we do. And there's some real issues with Old Country Way that will be dealt with.
Which one is Old Country Way?
It's the two houses that were purchased, okay? And, yes,
What kind of control do you have over the design and the architecture of businesses that go into the area? For example, Cumberland Farms.
well, we've already had, just it was an off-the-record type of thing, talking to them. Their buildings aren't too bad, but there's no reason why they can't make it look like it should. That it will come in as a special permit, and with a special permit, you can make more demands than you can with just an administrative site plan review. And we will make demands so that we can.
Based on what? You have, I mean, does that fit into a plan that you have?
Yes, we have a vision, and the vision is to have our buildings, this is a case in point, closer to the street with the parking at the side rather than in front, to try to do away with all of this pavement so that when you go down the street, all you see are cars and pavement. The Drew Company is going to do the same thing. Their buildings are going to be moved forward so that you can see the buildings and not a ton of cars.
How about the buildings themselves?
The buildings themselves, actually, they don't look too bad. They really don't.
So there's no zoning guidelines?
Brad?
We'll get to that one second, folks. Just give us a sec to get plugged in here. I apologize, actually. Had something personal come up, and then it was hard to find parking tonight. We didn't expect that.
Don't worry about that.
And there is a design review committee that is a subcommittee that does report to the planning board.
Right.
That does review all architectural
Yes.
aesthetics.
Right. We're going to be all over this. Believe me, we will be. It's not going to be, I for one think, and maybe the person that owns the building is here, but Driftway South, that green and yellow drop box, it's down at Driftway. And it's too bad that somebody can't cut the lawn at, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, there are bits and pieces. And I apologize as I seem to be rambling, trying to fill some space. Wait for these characters to do what they need to do. Anna, you might want to move. Oh, it's right there. Yes.
I didn't know if that grass is
It's a telephone pole. No. Yes. And Ted Bowman's our consultant, and it's about the Greenbush, Driftway, Gateway area. So hopefully they can keep it short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, so thank you all for coming tonight. Last time we had a business-oriented stakeholder workshop in January. I think we had 15 people, we had a lot more elbow room. We might have had food at that one too, but I didn't think we could afford to feed all you guys tonight. So tonight, again, we want to try to keep it on target. There's probably a lot of things we want to talk about. What we're going to focus on tonight is an overview of the Greenbush Driftway Vision Plan, which was completed in 2017, and then that will segue into an overview of the proposed zoning, which I think it sounds like I kind of walked into a conversation that was midway about, what kinds of things can zoning do in terms of building placement, size, etc. So let us go through our 2025 presentation, and we can open it up to questions on this. Again, I'd kind of like to keep it on this kind of stuff. If we have other concerns, we have time for some Q&A at the end. That sounds good. All right, thanks, Ted.
All right, thanks, Brent. Again, my name is Ted Roberts. I've been working with the Economic Development Commission for a few years now. And basically, the Driftway Vision Plan is a follow-up to the townwide economic development plan, which was done in 2014, and basically put together an overall economic strategy as well as a market analysis for Scituate. So what we decided for the EDC is that we wanted to go and look at more closely all of our different village centers, our Harbor, Hummer Rock, North Scituate, and the Greenbush Driftway area. And part of that process, putting together an overall conceptual plan, sort of a vision for the future, as well as strategic actions that need to be taken to provide better opportunities for business development, some housing choices, as well as some infrastructure improvements. So that's what we've been doing the last couple of years, focusing on the Greenbush Driftway area. So as part of this analysis and envisioning process, we put together this overall concept plan. I'm going to break this down so everybody can see this. And I'm sort of talking into the circle here. I'm sorry about that. My back. But it's a big area. Basically it goes from the roundabout over to Widow's Walk, and so there's a lot of very different places. You've got the historic Greenbush Village on Country Way. You've got the old MBTA lot and the train station, which is an opportunity for some mixed-use development. You've got the conservation park on the North River. You've got Widow's Walk, this wonderful recreation
Fred,
resource.
you're going to have to speak up. They can't hear you. You want to open these windows before we ride?
And so basically we've broken down into sub-districts so we get a better understanding of what the overall characteristics were and what we want to see in the future in these different areas. So there's 7 sub-districts altogether in the vision plan. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. So the first sub-district is the Greenbush Village, or the roundabout itself. Basically, this is our main gateway into Scituate. This is where people are introduced to the community. This is where people go off to different places, including the harbor, including the train station. So it's important for us to make a good, appearance, a good presentation. People are driving up and down 3A and 123. So we want to beef up the landscaping, the streetscaping that's in the center of the roundabout. There's a little pocket park on the north side of the roundabout up against the little pond there. We're going to make some improvements there. And we also want to put together, we are in the process of putting together a wayfinding system, directional wayfinding signage, so that people that are familiar with Scituate and are here visiting can find their way around town. That's really the emphasis. There's not a lot of development, obviously, on the roundabout, but it's an opportunity for creating a really nice entrance point to our community. The second area is the Greenbush Village itself on Country Way primarily, and some of the side streets of Wood Place, Drew Place, Jenkins Place. And basically, this has been, as Ann mentioned, there's been a lot of activity here in recent years, a lot of development, including this beautiful place, this restored old schoolhouse that we're sitting in today, as well as next door with the mixed-use project, and a lot of contractor projects, facilities. So it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of economic development, it's a little bit of housing, it's a little bit of small commercial operations. And that's really what we see the future be, a little bit, more of the same, basically sort of low to moderate scale, mixed use, with an emphasis on restaurants and retail uses along Country Way, trying to basically, beef up that street as a good pedestrian environment with some streetscape improvements and some sidewalk improvements, as well as, infill on the side streets, and you see there's a number of residential and sort of contractor facilities in these areas. The third district is the new Driftway Gateway, basically from the roundabout to Dunkin' Donuts. This is an area, again, we're sort of coming off of our roundabout and going into the district and onto the harbor. And this is an area where we want to emphasize what's there today, which is basically commercial development. So there's some infill opportunities on both sides of the street. As Ann pointed out, there's a couple of small commercial proposals out there. But it's also an area where we need to improve the streetscape. There's only a sidewalk on one side, and we want to make sure that as people come out of the roundabout, that there's a good sort of walking environment. People can get out of their cars and start to walk as they're in this philosophy of village center. So you can see that opportunities along the corridor for some smaller scale commercial and mixed use buildings, streetscape improvements, and we're actually putting together what they call a MassWorks grant application right now to get some state funding to do some streetscape and some utility work. And basically making that connection to the new driftway, that intersection, through a series of small reinvestments in the properties. The fourth is what we're calling the New Driftway Village Center. That's at the intersection of Driftway and New Driftway. And you've got the animal hospital, you've got the doggy daycare, North Shore Auto Parts, but I believe, are they still there, or are they just?
They're
gone.
No.
They're gone now, okay. And that's where the Cumberland Farms is currently proposed, all the way down to the Maritime Museum, and of course the MBTA lot where the Drew company is proposing a mixed-use development. So we really see that as what we call a transit-oriented village. So basically, with the Drew being sort of the main piece of that on the MBTA lot, they would provide, a mix of uses, including residential and commercial. We want to make sure, as Ann mentioned, that we bring them up to the street in that area along the New Driftway, which is where you see some street trees in there. It's a pretty wide swath. We want to reconfigure that into a common. So that could be sort of a passive recreational space, a place for people to gather. It would complement the new development that would come up in front of it, as well as create some open space, which we really don't have much of in this particular area until you get down to the conservation park.
Sorry, where would that open spot space be?
It's along, there's a large swath on the east side of New Driftway up where the parking lot is. It's
right.
Yeah, there's a series of nice, mature street trees there. So we want to preserve that spot as the Drew company develops in the future and reconfigure it so it's like a nice open spot. You could have, farmers markets out there, community gatherings, theater, or whatever.
Is there any plan to retain some of the parking there? We always talk about mixed use. And
Yeah,
expansion.
actually, that's part of
the main lot is already at capacity, 5 days a week.
Yeah, as part of their agreement with MBTA, they have to reserve a certain number of spaces for commuters. We're also looking at the possibility of adding on-street parking on the New Driftway because it's a wide, curb and gutter. It's wide enough easily for parking on both sides. So that would be an opportunity that would be useful for everybody, whether it's people that are commuting, but also mostly people that were in those new businesses.
Would you let a commuter park 10 or 12 hours a day on the street?
Probably wouldn't want to, yeah. We want to keep that open for, daytime commercial traffic and nighttime restaurant traffic. So that's something to be figured out. But that's within the public right away, so that's something that the town can work on in the meantime.
So,
Sorry, the town is coming up just to help answer
Oh,
questions.
okay.
I just want to put a caveat out there too. What you're seeing tonight is not something that's set in stone. Again, it was a general vision that the town embraced 2016, 2017. So these are concepts of what we'd like to see in each one of these sub-districts. So again, we're not going to, planning department, planning staff, and all the relevant boards and committees are going to come out and say, well, this plan shows on this block, so we're going to do X. Again, it's kind of a general concept of what we'd like to see happen in the district. And again, someone brought up parking. That's a very good issue, exemplified by what happened here tonight. So not only are we going to have kind of individualized parking solutions, but we need to look at larger public, shared parking solutions, et cetera. So everything's kind of on the table tonight. Really, I guess, because I was a little late, and I apologize, to give a little bit more context to this. Again, this is really just to make sure that everyone is in the loop. I don't know, I was not here in 2016. I'm not sure who was involved in this process, but we are doing this now to make sure that everyone has ample opportunity to kind of see, digest, and provide their feedback. So again, nothing is set in stone. So all these comments are great, welcome tonight. And there are some, there are projects kind of in the queue or proposed. So those are the types of opportunities when new projects come through that we have the ability to implement some of these, components of the vision plan. So that's where it's, useful to get your input tonight.
Good point, Brett. Yeah, it's an overall concept, it's an overall vision, it's looking out 10 or 20 years, but it's not something that, we're going to take and develop based on this overall plan. We can't dictate property by property, what people are going to do. We can only provide sort of a guiding vision as well as making some changes to the zoning to facilitate the general type of development that the community wants to see.
How does this tie into the Conservation Commission's done a lot of work in that area with access, on the North River Access Plan. And it looks to me you're taking a fair amount of that and rearranging everything. Are you going to maintain that existing type of access?
If I may, and There is an access that was once upon a time the rail piece.
The what?
The rail piece, across from where the train station
So down
is.
the Heron.
I'm talking about the old right-of-way?
Yes,
Down the
that-
driveway,
yes.
okay? So
That's
we,
the say.
the Conservation Commission at the time, right, was able to piece together a bunch of cash together to provide all that public access.
It still will be there, sir.
Yeah, in fact, that's part of the plan is to enhance that corridor now. Basically create a nice trailhead at the beginning of it, because most people don't know it's there. But if you walk down that old rail bed, it's beautiful.
Correct.
And if you could take a canoe down there or a kayak down, that would be nice.
Or build a bridge.
Or build a bridge, that's right, keep going. Going David's point. Maybe not, but basically that's the idea, is to enhance that and make sure that everybody's aware of it, everybody has the opportunity.
And just in this whole thing, I just want to make sure that, you know, between the North River and the Old Okanagan Pond, we've got significant environmental concerns around the drinking water supply, and then just the ecological situation of the North River. So it seems to me you're plopping some of this into the watershed protection district, the floodplain protection district.
I had mentioned earlier about Cumberland Farms and the gas station.
Yep.
We were initially led to believe that no, you cannot have a gas station, especially there. That was one person's opinion, and then somebody else said, oh, yes, you can, because it's not in the Water Resource Protection District. So,
It's not what, I'm sorry.
it's not in the Water Protection District, the South Shore Auto Parks. So, Frank, could you, he's head of conservation, could you address this gentleman's concerns about access?
Well, Mike served on the commission during part of the trail work, and his concerns are well founded. That the commission had worked hard to create the walking path along the driftway. It ties into the little park at Dunkin' Donuts, and then there's a loop that would go in back of the Russo mitigation along the James condominiums, and then back out onto the driftway. I don't think, from what I've seen so far, none of those are changing.
Right, they're not.
But, you know, to enhance those as this goes forward would certainly be a positive thing. Already the walkway that's right in the back of here ties into that, so that's all a good piece of that. But, you know, Mike had served during that time, and it was important to the commission at that time to create those walking areas, and maybe someday, to his point, a bridge may or may not happen, but the rest of the rail bed that goes out to the North River is all owned by the town, and if somehow that could be accessed in one way or the other.
Well, once upon a time, there was talk about putting some type of a bridge over that particular area.
And maybe through the process, that's, I don't think part of this
No, it is
particular
not.
project is.
But it all interplays.
Right.
It all, you know, it's like dominoes. One thing happens, then another, then another, then another. Greenbush has become exceedingly desirable. Okay?
Well, when they imposed the train in, you know, there was a silver drip company that came and
I know,
did a
I
lot
was
of-
there.
And did a lot of what we said here, and then between the economy and whatnot, things sort of simmered, but now it's popped. And, you know, the planning board working towards creating, can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Is the MBTA obliged at all to maintain a certain number of parking for the train? Because it does concern me with the removal of a lot of that parking. You know, we're seeing that, and we had the ability to park elsewhere.
They have to maintain on the upper level somewhere between 180 and 220 parking spaces that will go along the perimeter.
And those won't be part of their parking for their project?
No, it will not.
No, so the Drew project, all of that parking will be contained on their site. There is a number of spaces that they have to keep the commuter rail station. If you saw the news article released last week, the T actually changed their fare structure to react to low ridership and high ridership areas. So Quincy Adams and a few other places, they jacked parking rate up because they know they'll get the money. And in one of the areas, Greenbush and others, they've actually reduced the fare because ridership is low and there's a lot of parking vacancies during the day. So they have a number of spots that anticipates future growth that they're committed to reserve.
Just hate to be short-sighted and give up parking that's needed down the road.
I think we'll be okay.
So that parking is nowhere near capacity right
No, it is not. But I think talk is
No,
they're going to reduce the parking fee from $4 to $2, which will bring in a lot more people.
That being said, the train is at capacity during morning hours,
Oh,
around
it's-
7 o'clock and later, once you
Right.
get past Weymouth.
I know, it's
There's no seats available.
amazing. And people said no one would ride the train. You have a question, sir?
I know that this will be considered, but just as an early on concern, I hear you about this area being very desirable from a growth point of view.
You're going to have to speak
From a
up.
growth point of view,
Right.
and I'm looking at that circle with 5 different entrances to it, and they're all single lane roads. And know even now with the no building, what it's like at that circle during 2-hour periods in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, before any growth, before any more building, before commercial, before residential. It's still going to be a single lane coming down 5 ways.
I understand. And if you think that's bad, you go up by the junior high school between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and you won't be able to move. There are traffic issues, that's Mass Highway. We will have to deal with that, and we will, okay? Your point is well taken.
So any of these, the larger projects that trip it, either through planning board or if it's a larger project through MEPA, which is a state environmental agency, they'll all undergo traffic review, and if they need to make, necessary mitigation, they'll do so. Again, this is kind of, I don't want to say pie in the sky, but this is a vision of everything kind of hands out, or everything
Yeah,
gets
this full-
built to its capacity. Probably very unlikely that it's going to look like this in any of our lifetimes. But again, this is, the vision plan. This is where the Greenbush district could be. So things like traffic and other environmental impacts, conservation, if there's any impacts, will all still go through the same channels. They'll go through the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Department of Public Works, and any other review that's necessary.
We will do our due diligence and try really hard to take good care of all of you.
Do you have a FEMA map overlay on this presentation?
FEMA map, I don't think so.
No, we could pull one up on the website later. Actually, the FEMA line is south of the Driftway.
But it's come up quite a bit, and it's certainly a concern.
Yeah, that's the 2016 line is the one on the website, so obviously anything that's built or done within that area would have to comply with those regulations.
So the 5th district is the waterfront neighborhood. That's basically the James Landing, Riverway townhouses, as well as the marina. Not much going on down there in the future, although there are some potential pockets of small developments that could fit in on some of those odd lots that are currently used for industrial uses. So other than that, that's pretty much the same. What we do want to do is try to connect the trails that we can. They go up along on the perimeter of all these properties. It's a beautiful trail, it's fantastic views, and there's an opportunity to connect them. I think that would serve as a really great resource for the town as a recreation. The 6th district is what we call the business park, the Driftway Business Park. And basically, this is again a long-term vision where the transfer station could be relocated and that property would become available for a business park development. It's owned by the town. Basically, you can provide all kinds of different developments in there, from medical offices to small-scale fabrication. It could host a variety of different light industrial and commercial office type uses. And it's just on the edge of the area where the Droop project is and would ultimately connect to the train station as well. So it's really an ideal spot for some kind of development. And there's very few places in Scituate where we would have this opportunity to create a business park. And this would be a really terrific site if it wasn't currently used for the transfer station. Not only do you have access to the train, you have access to Route 3A, but you got spectacular views of the North River. It would be a wonderful park. If somewhere down the line it could happen.
Any idea what the transfer station would be located to?
No idea. No idea. That's something we'd have to do a whole separate process for.
Haven't we already, as a town, run into issues with relocating things that we already have a good existence of already? much
No,
like
it's true,
schools and
but I mean,
senior centers
this is
and things
basically
like that.
taking one town property and reusing it for a business park purpose and then trying to find another piece.
You need to make money though, because it seems
It's
to
money,
be perfectly
yeah.
good where it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation on that hasn't even started yet. It could stay the same. Transfer station could slightly reduce the footprint or it could completely go. So again, we haven't even gotten there. This is, again, that kind of 25-year look of the potential for that site if and when.
If you look at some of the other transfer stations on the South Shore, Duxbury, Kingston, and so on, they're on a very small, much smaller footprint than this one. This is a very large footprint for a transfer station. So maybe an opportunity down the road. It's just a vision at this point.
While you're looking at the area west of Stockbridge, is any consideration or are you planning to look at the old landfill?
No. Closed landfill?
Old landfill, right, that big green space
Closed and capped, I was saying, no.
behind the Korean station, next to, right in there, there's an old, town has an old landfill in there.
Yep.
So correct me if I'm reading this correctly. So you're going to have light industrial fabrication contractors and alongside professional and medical offices?
Well, I think that we have to sort of break up the park into different pieces, but I think along the front edge, along the driftway, we would want medical office, commercial, headquarter type stuff. And then back further in the park, which is sort of similar to what's on the first segment of Stockbridge. You want smaller scale fabrication, trades, that sort of thing. So from the driftway going, you'd see some big prominent buildings, but into the park it'd be more smaller scale, locally owned businesses.
You have a wide range of businesses there, professional, medical.
We do.
To industrial fabrication.
But this is a vision.
Yeah, it's a vision.
How many acres are we dealing with that's the transfer station? How many acres? I mean, I just wanted to have an idea so we have some idea of what size park is.
I can't remember off the top of my head, I can look it up.
And the other thing, there seems to be contradiction. A lot of the stuff that you told us earlier, in the second or third piece, that's where we currently have these small fabrication and stuff, and you want to get rid of them.
No. We want to give more opportunities to expand that. We want locally grown businesses, and this is a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah, but this is 25 years from now. Right now, you want to eliminate them. They won't be a business 25 years from now.
No, this is.
Contradiction.
No, I mean, that's what we see in this area, Greenbush, is more of that small scale, locally owned businesses. But there's going to be a need for more of that down the road, so we're looking for other opportunities.
Yeah,
And
I just
you
want to make that.
housing in the areas where they exist, which is behind the auto dealer. Now you got housing and trails and parks and parking lots. I will admit, whatever's back in there aesthetically might be an issue, but it's thriving businesses because they're still there. They haven't disappeared in the 20 years I've been there. So you're talking about getting rid of them, and then you're talking about...
That is a misstatement.
And that is not what you put on the piece of paper. And then you're talking 25 years from now, oh, we're going to put a place to put them. You got to coordinate your plan so that you have a place for these businesses to move to before you try. But that's 25 years from now. But you want the other stuff done before this. You don't have, you get rid of everybody, and then you go, oh, come back here. That's not going to work.
Those people that own property the opportunity to do something other than what they're doing today. They can say they're going to want.
The other thing is you don't have any plan to move this anywhere. So you can't have a plan that a very vital service to this town, which is the dump. You gotta get rid of our garbage. You haven't come up, you haven't researched it. It seems like you're way ahead of yourself.
So I just want to kind of reiterate what we said before. So this is the town's 2016 vision that came out 2017. Previously been adopted, had public process surrounding the adoption of this plan. Been available on our website. This is just a vision plan. This is not that this is what we're going to do plan. What we are looking for is feedback now. And this is good. This will help inform and possibly kind of modify this vision, if you will. We get things that we're speaking here to tonight are not kind of set in stone. And we just said just moments ago, the conversation around transfer station, this potential future thing, has not even begun. So it's all conceptual, it's all, and that's at what level of vision plan kind of attacks. It's kind of conceptual future.
But the other stuff is getting
And
way
again,
beyond.
and none of this in any of the district is intended to
Displace
or
any.
direct, specific land uses, displace anyone. Again, it's potential future. If someone has a South Shore Auto Parts site and they sell it and they want to do something that's consistent with this, they can. If they want to stay the way they are forever, they can. Our zoning, the current zoning and the proposed zoning both do that. So we're not proposing to make any changes that would force anyone out. Quite the contrary, we're trying to create a district that can enhance, not only what is there, but attract more of the things that folks want to see here.
Okay, the last district is the North River Recreation District. That includes Widows Walk Golf Course and North River Conservation Park. Two wonderful town-owned resources. Although it could look a little bit better than that. So there's the outhouses and the porta potties and the sides that we can see, and it's sort of open, no man's land up front. Basically, all we're talking about doing here at the Conservation Park is just some basic enhancements. Maybe have a regular bathroom, make some improvements to the picnic area, make some trail connections and so on. It's such a wonderful resource. We just want people to know about it. I don't think anybody who wasn't familiar with it would see it as you're driving down the Driftway. On the other side, the Widows Walk board has got some ideas about the possibility of having a boutique hotel, a new clubhouse, and some basic reconfiguration of the parking lot to make it safer and making crossing safer across the Driftway between the park and the country club. Or the golf course. So that's about it for that area, just basically some enhancements to our current recreation facilities. We talked about the transportation network. We want to make sure that we, as new roads are designed and developed, we want to make sure that they're attractive and pedestrian friendly with good sidewalks, good street trees. But we also want to make the connection with our bicycle corridors and our trails and our walking trails. So that's basically showing this sort of network of future connections between those different modes of transportation.
So again, real quick, just can you go back down for a second? Yeah. So again, the improvement in the transportation network or any enhancement is going to be incremental as well. So again, we're not going to come in tomorrow and do new sidewalks everywhere, expand them to where they're not now. But again, on a project-by-project basis, whether it be individual private development projects, or if we get grant money from the state, or if we do other kind of funding sources, we will be able to implement these new and broader sidewalks. Again, as projects come forward, we want to work with property owners to make transportation improvements that make more sense, that we can consolidate curb cuts. We can just make it safer, not only for cars, but for folks. Hopefully there will be more folks walking and biking in the future. So the plan is to make it work for all of those different modes of transportation.
Lighting would really help. There's no lighting outside of the train station along the Driftway.
The other overriding issue to all of this that hopefully will be addressed in the near future is water and sewer. And it's something that has to be dealt with. We have money from Toll Brothers to look into a definitive, what are our resources? What is the capacity of the sewer treatment plant? What about our water? And also too, there is the potential of regionalization, and this would be North Scituate, which would free up the treatment plant for septic to go through Cohasset to Hull, because they have the capacity and they want it, so go figure. At any rate, things are in the works, and it's in a state of flux. It is not going to happen tomorrow. It won't happen for a while, but it's incremental. And the more information we impart to you, the better off we're all going to be, because you need to be part of this process. So that when something does come to be, we won't have people saying, how did that happen? Why is that there? No, I want you to be involved. And I know we're all busy, and some of us are working 2 or 3 jobs. John, no, send an email. Just let us know what you're thinking. This is a vision. It's a umpteen-year plan. I will be in a Happy Hollow restaurant by the time some of this happens, and that's fine. But it's all, I like to work in 5, 10, and 15-year increments. It doesn't happen overnight.
So you have that broken out, what the 5-year plan is, what the 10-year plan is?
We're working on it. We are working on it. But we need your input. We need to know what you want. We also need to know what you don't want. But, you know, times change, areas become gentrified, people feel displaced, and...
Which is not what we're seeking to do.
Which is absolutely not what we're seeking to do. One place was not mentioned, and that's Spitz Mill, which is undergoing a 21E at this moment in time. And who knows what will happen. Once upon a time, Anderson Fuel came in with the potential of putting a big residential development behind what they've got. We lost a lot of our commercial space when the train came through. And now we're trying to replicate, bring back some of that to Greenbush. So we will please some of you some of the time, and some of you not at all.
Traffic's a issue now, and what I see a strategic plan next 5, 10, 15 years, it's going to be intense. It's pretty intense now. Not intense, but it's getting there. It's getting there.
You're right. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I feel like I've lived this before. A year ago this time, I lived in Marina Bay. And there is a little road there along the Quonset River called Commander Shea Boulevard. And that used to be where George Marsh's warehouse was. And the planners of Quincy thought it was a really good idea to let FedEx use that as a station to have their trucks go out of, which goes directly onto the Neponset Bridge exit. And they used a word, and I heard this word tonight, and I've gotten to really hate the word, and that's mitigation. Because mitigation is a word that people use to say somehow we're going to make this better. And you can't mitigate a one-lane road on Commander Shea Boulevard that goes onto the Neponset Bridge and have 75 trucks that are supposed to go there between 7 and 9 in the morning. And I'm not exaggerating.
I believe you.
Okay, and it hasn't been done yet, but they're doing it. And what worries me is no matter, because I hear about the growth, and I understand that the town wants to do things with this property to make, you have one lane on Route 3, one lane on 123, one lane on the Driftway, one lane going into Old Country Way. They're all one lane. And they converge at least 4 hours a day and block things now where we have no real growth. All we have is the T station, when you really think of it, and it's a mess.
Well,
so that's all I'm saying is,
you're
I
right.
know it's going to get...
It's a very good point, and it's an important point, okay? And it's something that really needs to be dealt with. And we have to figure out, do we want to widen Route 3A? And if we do widen it, how does that play into, over the years, people have been very cognizant of the green belt. And there are those, some who feel that we should put stores and what have you along the Driftway. I look at what happened up in Cohasset and Beechwood, where they took basically your one lane each way, 3A, and they made it into 2 and 2, okay, and then merging into 1 each. That intersection, I will stand here and tell you, is deadly. And that is not something that we want. So this is, we have to think about this. We have to be really careful what we wish for. Okay?
I promise not to say it again.
You can say anything you want.
So again, what we're trying to do here, what we tried to do with the original plan is be proactive. Because under the current zoning, we could just stand back and let things get developed and redeveloped and not touch the street network and not think about sidewalks. And then you could end up with pick a town of your choice where it's just a hot mess. The thought here is to do something completely different. To have forethought about what we want, where we want it. Again, this isn't written in stone. Let's have more of these discussions. Give us your feedback so that we can, again, make, because again, we could walk away right now and folks could develop a lot of this, if not all of this. And without the coordinated planning in advance to make sure that, and I use the term mitigation, so I'm thinking of if you travel on Route 53, Hanover, when they just knocked down the old shopping mall there. So just pretend there's no shopping light, but there's a new mall comes in, you got a light, that's mitigation without talking. Things that development necessitates. So something big goes in here, they have to give you something. You've made traffic horrible, you need to install an intersection, put better sidewalks, better crosswalks. It's a meaningful mitigation, not just, again, I'm not sure how you meant the term, but there is term meaningful mitigation that does help to lessen or improve the situation.
What I meant, just so you know,
Yeah.
they were talking about somehow mitigating the one lane
Yeah.
that goes onto the bridge, but it doesn't address the fact that the traffic's backed up
Yeah.
all along Multi Shore Drive. They could make the road wide,
Yeah.
it just bottlenecks 50 yards higher up. That's all.
Yeah, no, no, sure.
That's my rule.
Do a kind of report here, and the most imminent thing seems to be the Cumberland Farms September, 2 or 3 months away. The drive-in, traffic blocking, stops on Route 40 now. It has been looked at.
I was at the meeting, Brad was there. I am very concerned about traffic. It's a little bit of a passion of mine. I want them to come in one way, go around the building, and if they can work out a deal with Driftway South, exit into that parking lot, go to the left to the lights, so that no one is coming out of Cumberland Farms to take a left across all that
That's what I was
traffic.
talking about. That's what
And that's, I don't want to see that, because that's deadly, and people get hurt. So
Will that be addressed?
it will be addressed, okay? It will be addressed. I've already mentioned it. I'm just into that kind of thing. So it,
That's a good point. You know, basically, we've got zoning in place now that allows strip development. And we're trying to do, essentially what we're doing is we're taking a step back, working on an overall vision and refining it through public meetings like this, and then ultimately translating that vision more or less into new zoning that would replace the strip development. So we're not going to get everything right, but things like that, where you've got a Cumberland Farms and they do their Plan A, which is basically the pumps out front, all the parking, and 2 major curb cuts right next to 2 other major curb cuts.
and a light.
Whereas this plan shows the opportunity to maybe reverse that, put the pumps on the side or on the back, so you're not looking at this, giant, UFO. And you've got, a connection out to the light. I mean, that's really what this whole vision is about, is if we're going to get development, let's not get Plan A commercial strip development. Let's get something that's over time going to build up a village center.
I like connections. I really do. I think they're very, very important, and I hate dead ends. But that said, are there any more questions?
Yeah, I got 2 more. So the whole area around the Greenway, I understand the Greenbush, I understand the transportation corridor development, and I apologize, I didn't look at the zoning regulations. Have you reduced parking for one car per apartment, those type of things, to encourage people that are really interested in TOD as opposed of, oh, it's a place where I can have my wife and I with our 2 cars parked? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's been thought of.
The village center overlay district, that's on the books today. That's got a series of standards that are sort of oriented towards mixed use and transit-oriented development, that sort of thing. And it does have a reduced parking standard for multifamilies that are smaller. So we would probably incorporate that into the new zoning, but we would also provide more or less a toolbox for parking so that if there's an opportunity for you to share parking with your neighbor and you want to do that, you can show us that the peak demand is different. You're a gym, that's a peak demand at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning versus a restaurant that's 6 or 7 at night. Then we'll allow them to do that, through the planning board review. Also try to provide, better connections between parking lots, satellite parking if there's a reasonable walking distance. So we want to create this toolbox to allow some flexibility in parking standards, so it's not all site-by-site individual buildings and individual parking. We want to make it, more of a usable resource for everyone.
And the second question, it's real quick. Greenbush is 2.5 miles from the harbor. We have a train station. A lot of other communities have people come in on the weekends, go to the villages, go to the harbor and spend money.
Yeah.
I have not seen any real action by the town or, the Chamber of Commerce to promote something like that. I was wondering if that was part of this.
Yeah, I was actually at a meeting last week with Mass DOT and a group, it's the new commuter rail initiative, but it's kind of forming around DOT and MBTA's reassessment of commuter rail service in general. So a lot of the issue that a lot of train stations or commuter rail stations, particularly the ones at the end, have is what they call last mile. So you can get out to Scituate, but then how do you get to anywhere? Same thing if you're trying to get to the train station going to Boston, there's that gap. So that's something that we can address with our regional transportation provider, GATRA, or we can look into other modes to get. So once folks get here, they can get to other destinations within town. So that's something that we will be following up on. Certainly as this area develops more, but even now it'll be an asset. Because as you may have heard, MBTA is running $10 summer fares. So folks can come here just if they want to go to the beach or do something in town, but once they get here, they're kind of stuck. So
Yeah, and once you get to the station.
Yeah, but again, that's not a unique problem.
Yeah.
Again,
No, I know.
Commuter rail is really kind of inwardly focused for commuting to Boston. So they're trying to actively think of ways of getting folks throughout the system. And this kind of what they call the last mile is something that we're all looking into right now.
Good, question back.
The green hair guy wants to talk. I just want to sort of build on what you just talked about with the GATRA service and so on. We keep talking about traffic and traffic issues, and I think there are two components of it. One is for the traffic that's coming from out of town, the people who are visiting, the people who are going to be hopefully enjoying what Scituate has to offer, but they're not coming to town. Then we've also got the traffic within town, right? If Cumberland Farms opens up here, I can already see the people getting in their cars, even if they're a half mile away, and then driving down to Cumberland Farms, and then we have a traffic situation. It's one thing to say, oh, we need wider roads, and you're just compounding the problem when you do that, because that just means more cars are going to come out. As part of the planning, you mentioned the biking around and the trails and so on and so forth. I would like to see greater emphasis on actually having reasonable public transportation that serves the town.
Yeah.
Right now, I see the GATRA pull in. I use the Greenbush line to go to work, and I see the bus coming in once in a while. No one gets on it. It's not, I don't know.
It's not timed correctly.
It's not timed correctly, and the routes, I don't know that they're ideal, right? So I would like to see greater emphasis on public transportation so that people, those of us in town,
Even things like
actually take advantage
a
of
bike
it.
share program
Yeah.
at the rail station, and down in the harbor as well.
Well, the other thing to think about is this, something to think about. Think about. When you go to Nantucket, or you go to the vineyards.
Why would I?
No, that's not the same. There are all these vans and, mom and pop taxis.
Right.
And they will take you wherever you want to go, and they all show up when the boat comes in.
Yep.
And maybe this will open up an opportunity for people to do just that. So that's something to think about.
No, it's very good, very good.
I'd like to make a comment about the traffic for commuting to Boston. Most of the people that live in Scituate that use commuter trains go to North Scituate because they have 10 minutes later if the train gets there. And if they move between here and there, that means it's a 5-minute drive from my house to get to Greenbush, or it's 5 minutes to get to North Scituate. Obviously, we go to North Scituate. Most of the traffic there is actually Norwell, Marshfield, and the surroundings. So you need to take that into account. Then the problem at the circle is those people trying to get either in or out of Greenbush commuting. And that's why this gentleman sees the 2-hour problem in the morning and the evening, because there's 5 trains each way. So I think that I haven't heard anything in the transportation that you actually, you kind of indicated that it was town people trying to get to the train station, not really that big a group. And having the bus there probably doesn't make sense. Maybe you need to think that the bus needs to get.
Bus doesn't go anywhere. What I was going to say is Brad and I both live in Norwell, and we were peers on the Norwell Planning Commission before Brad came over here. The converse to what you just said is that
6 miles of road from Scituate to Route 3 run through Norwell, and there are lots of people in Norwell who say, but for Scituate, we wouldn't have commuter, congestion in the morning. So, yes, Norwell drivers come to Greenbush to get on the train. Marshfield drivers come to Greenbush to get on the train. Scituate drivers drive all the way through Norwell to get to Route 3.
No, what I'm saying is that the plan needs to be centered in the fact that really Greenbush is not a Scituate train station.
It is a Scituate train
Well,
station. It's in Scituate.
Yeah, but it's not with Scituate drivers. The traffic coming to it is coming through.
It's a
three of
regional.
those-
It's a regional. It's a regional train
It's very regional, so if you're not thinking correctly, you're planning.
One of the things that we all have to be cognizant of, and we have a tendency in Scituate to be a little bit parochial, a little bit, on ourselves. When I moved to this town 45 years ago, it took 15 minutes to get to South Shore Hospital. Now it takes 30. And it has nothing to do with the traffic here. It has to do with the development of Route 53. It has to do with the development of Derby Street. It has to do with all kinds of things that have nothing to do with us. But we have to be cognizant and work within that framework. Yes, this is a regional train station, which it was meant to be. Greenbush, or rather North Scituate, not so much. You have no idea how many people are dropped off in North Scituate and how many walk to that train.
I use the train.
So it is just.
So that's why I'm aware of that.
Are there any more questions?
Right here.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Okay, now, 5, 10, 15 years from here, I'm going to be in the room next to you with the
There you
nurse.
go.
My concern is today, what's going on in this particular neighborhood. I live 100 yards down there. Okay, the amount of building going on here right now, the density, we've lost all of the open space in this area. You mentioned the development of the Fitz Mill property. Well, Anderson Fuel owns it now. Apparently, it's going to be sold to a couple of other developers. They took down the 3 overhead tanks down there with 1 million gallons of fuel oil. They discovered a huge plume of fuel oil in the ground. They've been digging that up for 3 years. My house has got a light coat of oily dust on it that I can't get rid of. When that happens, there will probably be 5 or 6 or 8 of these apartment houses or condos over there. Right now, we've got a traffic problem in this neighborhood with the parking that we see right here. Today, going through that stop sign right over there, all the contractors out of there blow through that stop sign at 30 miles an hour. We have a problem here, particularly on weekends with traffic getting through here. This is wonderful. I hope these people are very successful. Something has to be done to address the parking in front of here. Big open field up behind Mitchell Megan's property here. He owns this property too. There's a gate out back here that could be open. All the parking problems could be solved here by putting that up there. The Greenbush Village project over there, the planning board got snookered. When they came in front of you folks, the terms and conditions for the old white building, if it couldn't be moved up front, it would have to be rebuilt with its twin. Ms. Burbine was very observant when they came in with the plans for the white building, saying, oh, it was going to be the same. The plans were completely different. Ms. Burbine had to go back to the drawing board, redraw it. It supposedly is going to be like it, but where they got snookered, I watch all of the meetings on cable. There was no mention about building the Titanic attached to it there. You look now with the amount of building, it looks like the Titanic, the Lusitania and the Queen Mary have landed at Greenbush Village. This is ludicrous. The same thing's going to happen over there. The project is going to go over here at 1416 Old Country Way. We've been in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that's as far as it's gone right now. They wanted to take down 2 affordable housing units, 2 cute little cottages, rip them down and build about a dozen, say condo, garage units there. That's going to completely change the character of this neighborhood here. You know, this was, when I said, it was open space when I came in here. This building wasn't here, it was lovely. That building wasn't there. The storage bins weren't here. Somebody has to look at that. What is the overall picture? What is the concept?
In addition to, they want 22 parking spaces.
Yeah, this is no longer
ridiculous.
You know?
village. This is the city. I moved out of the city to get away from it, and it's fine here. But somebody, are you looking at the concentration, this close concentration that's going on here? No open space. The open space is gone. There's
And then all the
something
children that
that's
play over there, you know, they've been playing for years, generations after generations, for all that development to come in. Now the kids aren't gonna have to be safe. It's already bad enough on the weekends that this place gets over, you know, crowded with people in the parking in front of our homes. Sometimes we come in and people can't even park where they're supposed to park. You know, it's just ridiculous.
And I mentioned it before, that the situation with the kids, they don't watch what they're doing.
No, they
And,
don't,
I'll
because
tell you,
time is not helping anything because
Thank God, I go down here slow enough, a kid almost ran out in front of my truck. About a month ago.
Mine as well.
It's, and especially the parking around here and the traffic. None of the contractors stop at that stop sign or the stop sign to Old Country Way over here. I've talked to some of the people that live on Old Country Way, and they state the same thing. They're worried about people blowing through that stop sign. And the traffic is intense.
Okay, I have to say, and I've said it to the police in terms of North Scituate, because they blow through there like Grant took Richmond. You need to call the police daily if you have.
I've done
Do
that
they ever-
almost daily.
do they
come
permit
down,
or
they
come-
come down, they ticketed one time. They did do some ticketing.
It seems to be on this issue that when you did the village district in this neighborhood, you may have gone too far.
If I could just-
Is there any thought about pulling the boundary back?
Yeah, so just something, again, this is exactly why we're here tonight, I just want to say that. You know, we did some research and we dug up zoning from the 50s, which is when zoning first came about. And Greenbush has been in business since the 50s. 2005 or 6, when they did the village business overlay district, yeah, that was voted in at town meeting. But that is not to say, you know, every time when you make zoning amendments, if there's something that is not working for a particular section of the neighborhood, that's why this is still an open book. So we want to talk to folks about what may or may not be right with what is included in this. And again, maybe you could pull the mixed-use portion back, you know, where there's a cluster of residential homes, and more density is not something that folks want. So that's something that's certainly possible. But in terms of precedence, again, it has been through some sort of business zoning now for half a century. That being said, there's not the development pressure that there is now. So again,
if they wanted to do developments where the old Fitz Mill was, or in that area, can't they do parking and traffic to go out the other way somehow? Like up and over, you gotta go up and over.
I don't know. Individual.
I mean,
You really couldn't. You
I
really
want to go back to open space for a second.
Mhm.
The standards today basically say that you have to have 20% open space on your lot. But they don't have any specific standards other than that. So typically what it is sort of the fringes of your land that you haven't been able to figure out a way to develop. So under the new standard, we're hoping that we can actually make sure that if you're going to require to do open space, but it's got to be a purpose to it, there's got to be a quality to it. Whether it's a little pocket park or a playground or a contribution to an existing town-owned property within the district. Basically, you've got to contribute to the overall community asset of open space.
Yeah, currently now, is like a lot of zoning bylaws are structured, a little grass strip in between the parking areas, you know, a single little reason.
Yeah.
That counts as open space.
I think we like to avoid Stockbridge and First Parish with.
So the question is, I guess, as an engineer, you know, you're doing zoning and planning, okay? And I think the intentions are great, all right? When this building went in, I live down the street in Stockbridge, and it was a pain in the neck to even go down Country Way, okay, sometimes. But you have a perfect example of what the situation is here with the building and the use and the parking, that you may really need to rethink things with what this, you know, this corner is all I'm saying. I was really surprised somebody didn't come in and try to amend the zoning map on the floor. when you zoned in the doctor's office on Driftway. You know, I just think that, you know, there's a simple solution that, you know, maybe we don't want to push it that far. You've got a neighborhood here, you've got kids here. I just think that there's opportunity to do something different, that's all. I just, you know, again, I think that the Greenbush, the whole idea is a fantastic idea, but I was at that zoning board meeting, and so I haven't seen a meeting that packed since they haven't put condos.
All right, Linda, you had a question?
So I think it's great, the 5, 10, 15-year plan. I think a lot of it, open space, you guys are planning for it, stuff like that, and I do like the vision. I think that Scituate needs more business in that we need a better business tax base. By the same token, I just worry, there's a lot of empty business space in town now, both in the harbor and North Scituate and even down here in Greenbush. And so I want to make sure that we're not building new medical office space that displaces medical office space that's already here, or new restaurants that will put the ones in the harbor out of business, or new retail that does the same thing. I mean, if you can hit retail here right off 3A, what's your incentive to go to the harbor? So I want to kind of put that out there, that we need to be thinking about what's existing and not replace that. And what is the plan to bring new business, as in people, to town? I mean, Scituate is, one whole side is water. Yeah, we get boats in the summer, but for, 9 months out of the year, there's no business coming from the ocean. So, the EDC needs to make sure that there's some, advertising, some promotion, something, because I hate to see Greenbush become great at the expense of North Scituate and the harbor.
May I? This is like deja vu, in that when the PDD, Planned Development District, when we bought back in the 70s, the Boston Sand and Gravel, and we wanted to put 20,000 square feet of retail space on Lordstown Golf Course. And people from the harbor went to town hall and screamed, and it was back down to ultimately 5,000.
Can you speak up louder? We're having trouble hearing back here.
It was back down to 5,000 square feet, and finally it all went away. And the people that went to town hall no longer have businesses in the harbor. I have a business in North Scituate. I have been there for 28 years. I've lived through the train, I've lived through snowstorms, I've lived through everything. If you have something in your business that people want, they'll show up. Parking notwithstanding, they will be there. I'm still in business after 28 years. Sure, some of the times with the economy have been tough, but if Greenbush is the gateway to the harbor, I understand there are more and more people coming in on the boats. And you know what's really, really sad? Other than the restaurants that are down there, the businesses close at 5 o'clock at night. So nobody can go shopping. Hello?
And I do agree with that, but to be fair, you're the only upholsterer in town.
That's No, I'm an upholsterer across the street from me. I have outlasted them all. Yes, you have a question.
I have a question about the town water supply and how that is going to be affected with more tanks being put in. And if you're talking about green space and that kind of thing, could there be consideration of, not having a giant lawn, but having, because I think a lot of the water that we use that we're already low on the upper reservoir, so I just don't want to see a ton of grass being just watered and, and also we're already having these drought issues every summer and everything, just as just something that I hope is being considered and part of, and I don't know if there's...
It's definitely being considered at every level. We're putting the level, department level. So there's a couple things going on. So Ann mentioned the sewer and water study that's being funded in part by Toll Brothers Project. So that again will look at kind of our existing kind of conditions and look forward to capacity. There's a capital project that's underway right now. The design and planning is underway for the raising the walls around the reservoir, if you will, provide extra storage capacity. And then you're right, it's an ongoing kind of conversation, dialogue about water conservation. I mean, Scituate can take pride in the fact that this is one of the, I think, the most strict towns in the Commonwealth in regards to water conservation. As we saw a few years ago, it's you know, in those kind of, the episodic kind of droughts, you need that. So I think it's continued education. You know, we brought it up within the context of Toll Brothers, but I think moving forward too, we want to talk with any development about what kind of water conservation measures they're going to put in place, whether it's kind of native vegetation, low-flow toilets and sinks, those types of things. So again, all of that is very much on our mind, not something that's being overlooked, you know, for the sake of additional development. Again, all of this could be developed tomorrow. We are just trying to take a proactive approach to this. So planning for water capacity, planning for sewer capacity, thinking about parking, transportation, public access.
Teaching people how to go around the rotary. I'm starting a class next Saturday. I'm dead serious. It's called merge. Everybody stops, and 80% of you in here, I guarantee you stop, and you come to the rotary. It's not made to stop. It's made to merge. We have to teach everybody how to drive again. Seriously. I watch it every morning.
Just kind of follow up onto the opposite side of that spectrum that you just brought up. On this side of Greenbush, there's a lot of water issues that aren't necessarily for, you know, home use. It's usually in our basements because of lack of, you know, mitigation when the new developments go in for all the concrete space, all the parking, everything like that. So a lot of us end up having to pump out of our basements during the early spring when we get heavy rains, things like that. We ensure that whenever development does happen, that there are good plans in order to deal with that excess water that was being shed that the ground can't absorb anymore.
The draft zoning's got sustainable site plan design standards in it. So things like, you know, parking lots, there's a requirement where you have, you know, a fair number of shade trees that will absorb some of the water that will shade the parking lot, reduce the heat island, but also things like, on the books today, you can't have a flat roof. So if you want to do like a, you know, rooftop garden or a terrace, good open space as well as, you know, taking stormwater, you can't do that today. So these are the type of things we're trying to build into the future standards, because we realize that stormwater management is a critical issue, not only in this area, but town-wide. So we want to make sure that we set the tone with this district, which hopefully will get incorporated into other areas as well.
And the existing state and local stormwater standards that still apply.
Yeah, I know, they're ever changing. You see certain cities like Newton and Cambridge, whatever, there's something where they have to put underground tanks in.
Excuse me, I got one more issue about the parking out here. And 2 months ago, the planning board, the issue of parking out here was brought up. And somebody suggested, well, why don't we just do it one way? That doesn't work. I mean, if it's a one-way coming in, you're going to go out that way, Old Country Way to Country Way at that severe angle. There'll be accidents there every day. I mean, that would be ludicrous. So I think that no parking signs on the other side of the street, so that people aren't parking in Mr. Denny's property that they do all the time. No parking over there. While the place is open, maybe the police could just sweep by once in a while to see who is illegally parked. And again, open up the gates behind the building, and there's room for 100 cars up behind this property over here.
All right, we'll take one more question and we'll wrap it up. Mr. Berwick.
Are there any preliminary contemplated zoning bylaw changes?
Good question. Right here. So Ted, do you want to do like a just 2-minute kind of overview?
Okay. That's the curb zone. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never seen anything like that before. It's like a TV screen in the middle of the night in your head and just all the fuzz going in. What it amounts to is basically there's 4 base districts, there's 5 overlay districts, and within that overlay district, there's 7 sub-districts. So it's just an awful lot of stuff on top of each other. Ultimately, what it means, though, is that it boils down to what's allowed is basically strict development. So basically, the building envelope is set back from the street Parking is allowed to go in front of the building. The parking requirements are fairly high, so you get a lot of parking. And we're trying to sort of flip the pattern so we can bring things up to the street, create more of a village center. Open space is required whether you're a commercial business or whether you're mixed use or residential. If you're commercial, it could be something simple like if there is a setback from the sidewalk, that could be a dining use. So that you're extending the sidewalk, you're creating some attractive gathering spaces for folks to eat and so on. So that's really what we're trying to do is reverse the strip development pattern to create more of a village pattern out of it. This is the village center overlay, the village business overlay district, and in this case, they do encourage you to go up close to the street to create that sort of edge where you're defining the sort of a walkable environment. So we're going to be incorporating those types of ideas into the new zoning package so that we can build in attractive open spaces, we can make sure it's a great walking environment, and we provide business and residential opportunities.
Yeah, if I could just say real quick. So we have a draft bylaw now, and one of the reasons why we're here tonight is that it's a fantastic bylaw. Ted helped us together, put this together, but I think we needed a lot more sessions like this to get input. It's fairly progressive. It's a little bit more dense than our existing bylaw just in terms of sheer weight and volume. So I think we'll touch on some of the kind of high-level things tonight, but please expect that there'll be plenty of opportunities to kind of read through this, dig into it, ask questions. By all means, that we're not trying to rush this tonight. We just want to let you know that there is a bylaw out there, and we'll be having future kind of discussions about this.
We are going to do this again. So we did it back in January. We will, we're all, hopefully we're all on vacation someplace this summer. And we'll see you in September.
Is there a place where you can download this? On the website?
And Scituate goes back to
I
Scituate.
don't know if the draft is online, but we can put it on.
And maybe we can probably bring a copy of the draft.
Excuse me, Fred?
Yes.
What I'd like to see in the next meeting, in this concentration, in this neighborhood, what's going on here, I understand, everything that you went over tonight. And they're all issues, but there's an issue with a group of people that live in this neighborhood. Not only here in Greenbush, but in this particular neighborhood, but going out to Country Way. There's quite a few families out there that are concerned as well.
So this is Steve?
Yes.
Had the
Brad.
conversation, nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, same here.
What I'd like to do maybe is have like kind of a separate group,
Yes.
neighborhood meeting with just us and not have it be, again, the intent tonight was to talk about all of Greenbush, but we can certainly meet to focus.
We all appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could we be
Thank
in
you.
a space where there's enough seating and enough room for everybody?
Yeah, we actually have extra seats up here, but the thing is
How about
tonight.
for everybody though?
Well,
Yeah, real quick, if I could.
Yes.
We were limited tonight because there's another public meeting at the high school tonight.
The library.
is not currently available, the large one. So we're trying to do the best. We actually wanted to have it in the neighborhood that we're talking about, but in the future, you're right, we'll need to go to a bigger venue. It got more popular because we put it on Facebook, so.
I want to thank you all for coming. I know you have concerns. We are hearing them. We will deal with them. And my mantra is communication. And that as long as you are informed, you know what's going on.
Thank you.